Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It is just Marco here, and thank God. That's all I have to say. I am finally here to review Leave It to Beaver Season 2. Now, I was supposed to review this a long time ago, but I just kept on getting sick, and so I just stopped watching the show. I was very because I associated watching this show with being sick, and I just really didn't like it. Because, originally I started watching this show recently. I had already seen it as a kid. I started watching it recently just so that I could have something comforting to watch. But then when I was watching season 2 in particular, it really felt like I was just sick watching it. I hated it. It was mostly just the worst. There are so many bad episodes. There are so many mediocre ones that there's really not even much to say. I mean, some of them I do have notes for all of them, but some of them I might just go I might go like that too. And that is why it's taken so late. I will start to review the show again as soon as I'm probably January or February. I really want to get American Horror Story done, since I really wanted to have that done a while ago. So I want to focus on that, especially since a lot of people wanted it, a lot of people asked for it, and nobody asked for Leave It to Beaver reviews. So let's go. I think one statement about Season 2 would tell you how bad it is. When I watched Seasons 1 and 3, I jumped at the chance to watch it. I rewatch episodes and look forward to watching the new ones every day. But with Season 2, I don't even really like watching it. They oversimplified and created a cold and basic show. Whereas Season 1 took a lot of risks and did more comedy instead of drama. Eddie is hardly in the season as well, which also downgrades it a lot. And that is something very important to bring up, is that, the writers of this season, they were like, no, we don't want to have Eddie in the show very much, or if at all. So guess what? If I went back to watch a season again, do you think I'm going to choose the season without Eddie? No thanks. Screw that. Leave It to Beaver is not Leave It to Beaver without Eddie. Eddie is Leave It to Beaver. He makes the show in part. He's a piece of the puzzle that cannot be forgotten. So now I'm going to do a quick ranking of the episodes and then get into each one. I hope this isn't going to be too long of a video. So this is going to be worst to best. So, number 1 worst, Beaver plays hooky. Then Wally's new suit. Then The Grass is Always Greener. Happy Weekend. Her Idol. Found Money. Ward's Problem. The Visiting Ants. A Horse Named Nick. Friendship. Beaver Says Goodbye. Price of Fame. Beaver Gets Adopted. Beaver's Pigeons. The Shave. Garage Painters, Haunted House, Wally's Pug Nose, The Boat Builders, The Tooth, Beaver's Sweater, The Cookie Fun, Beaver's Newspaper, Beaver and Gilbert, Beaver's Ring. There's so many episodes. That's how you can tell it's a good show. And I'm being serious with that. Wally's Present, School Play, The Bus Ride, Beaver's Hero, Hair Comb, Lost Watch, The Pipe, Beaver and Chewy, Beaver's Poem, Eddie's Girl, Dance Contest, and my number 1 episode of the season, Forgotten Party. Beaver's Poem, this episode is an A+. This is a perfect classic episode. It's a simple but funny story and has a good message and happy ending. Eddie's Girl, I do give it a B, but it is like one of the only episodes with Eddie, so it is near the top. This episode's kind of sad. We learn how no one except Wally really likes Eddie, so that makes it all the more frustrating that June made a date for Wally with Eddie's girl. This is a highlight episode for Eddie as a character, and it's a really sad episode, honestly. Like, I just couldn't believe, like, June this season, she is just the worst. Like, she is awful, awful character. Now, Ward's problem, I give it a C-. As usual, Ward's biggest problem is Ward. There's an illusion of choice here, where in reality he obviously has to go to Beaver's picnic. This is a very simple and blah episode. Well then, why don't we just move on then? I'll just read the rest of my notes. The way Ward ignores Beaver's permission slip is bizarre. Totally unbelievable. I loved it when, once again, Mr. Donaldson comes to the rescue. He was about to take Beaver to the father-son picnic. The disappointment was that I thought Mr. Rutherford should have taken him. That would have been hilarious. The worst part is that we never even got to see the picnic, so the whole episode's a build-up to nothing. Beaver and Chewie, I give a B+. This is a very funny, classic episode. It was the first episode I jumped to watch in Season 2. It's frustrating because of the language barrier, and also Chewie's mom, she is a 10 out of 10 sexy MILF. I couldn't take my eyes off of her, honestly. I love the positive ending, too. Lost Watch, I give a B+. This is light on the laughs, but heavy on the good writing. Lumpy pretends like Beaver lost his watch when he was taking care of all the other guys' stuff as they played a baseball game. The back and forth between them is great. It's just classic bullying. This is a great episode. Now, her idol, I give a C for creepy. Linda takes other boys into a tree and then looks at birds' eggs and says, "I wonder where these came from." Wink, wink. She's a very likable girl and perfect for Beaver. But this episode is frustrating. Everyone teases him and peer pressures. Not many laughs. I don't like these Season 2 episodes. See how frustrated I was on a daily basis? I was like, I don't like these episodes. The worst part is that Larry was teasing Beaver the whole time because he had a crush on her and he wanted to take advantage. So yeah, Larry sucks. What's new with that? Beaver's Ring, I give a B. This is an okay episode, nothing special. The best part is when Ward tears up the letter Beaver is forced to write. This episode is kind of pointless though, and it really is. I mean, who even cares? Beaver's Ring. Who fucking cares? The Shave, I give a C+. Wally, quote-unquote, isn't old enough to shave. The reality is everybody is different. I started shaving in 5th grade. I did not like how his parents acted dealing with him shaving. There were so many questions like, why didn't Ward teach Wally how to shave? Why didn't Ward buy extra razors since he knew Wally would shave too? Why didn't Ward wait until Eddie went home to yell at Wally? If he didn't want Wally to shave, why did he only imply it? Pretty much the only good thing in this episode is Ward getting the shave from Floyd from Andy Griffith's show. It's an epic scene where he does something really nice for Wally and helps him more than the whole episode. So he has Floyd from Andy Griffith shave Wally in front of all the other guys. And I thought, that was really nice of him. That was really cool. Like, honestly, that was one of the best moments of Season 2. Ward has a lot of standout moments throughout the series. Like, even though he has a lot of shitty moments, he does have a lot more, like, good moments than bad, whereas June, she, like, every single season, she's got some huge shitty things that she does. And you know what I've noticed, too? For some reason, in every single show, there's always that one female character who's, like, really, really shitty. And then there might be a shitty guy, but there's always, like, a shitty female character. Like, and I'm just saying, like, isn't that funny? Like, because there are some shows where there's not, or shows where at least, like, you can kind of excuse them being shitty. Like, I guess Californication, you know, those are all very, like, surface level people, which, you know, Hank Moody points out. He says, you know, I don't like this town, I don't like these people, so that's fine, but, like, yeah, I don't know. Okay, The Pipe. I give this a B+. I don't like to go to sleep with people mad at me. That was one of the best quotes of the series. Very funny. I like this episode because it's simple, but a realistic premise and really funny. Plus, Beaver does the right thing when he knows his brother takes the blame for his wrongdoing. Now, Wally's new suit, I give this a fuck you. This episode is pure propaganda. Wally gets inspired to get his own suit. He picks out one that is different and looks cool. His parents bully him into getting a boring one. Well, actually, they trick him into doing it. His mom asks the owner of the suit store to lie and pretend like he cannot tailor Wally's suit because it's made for fat people. It's hilarious because then Wally could have asked, "How did you tailor it last time then?" Then his friends get boring suits too. The message of the episode is clear. Conformity is the best. Fuck that shit. Wally's suit looked much better on him. This is like the deal with people laughing at others for wearing shorts. Which is true. You know, I hate this type of stuff, you know. It's like, especially in a Leave It to Beaver episode where, you know, this is a very abnormal family, kind of like, you know, Beaver. I mean, whose kid is named the Beaver? You know, like, it's not like a typical family. Like, I think a lot of people, like, when they criticize the show, they kind of lose that. You know, they kind of think that this is supposed to be like the family, but it's really not. It's just a family. And I feel like if you look at it with that perspective, then you'll appreciate the show a lot more. School play, I give a B+. Miss Landers literally does the same thing with her "oh" face. Like, every single time people talk, she just goes, "Oh, oh, oh, oh." That's all she does in this show. Like, I'm serious. And I feel bad for the actress because it turns out she did die young, pretty young. But still, like, her acting in the show, she's like, "Oh, oh." Beaver's like, "Miss Landers, I just did something wrong." And then she's like, "Oh." Or like, "Miss Landers, somebody just did something bad in the classroom. Oh." Or maybe it should be like the Tim Allen, you know, like the "ooh." Or is that how you do it? Like, you guys know the "ooh." Yeah, God, I can't do a Tim Allen. I don't want to do a Tim Allen. That guy's a fucking rat. It works sometimes, but it makes her look stupid other times. This episode is everything you expect from a school play episode. Pretty funny. And I like how you actually see the full play, which other shows have not done. The funniest part is how bad Whitey's performance is. I could not tell it was different from Beaver's. Even the show itself was putting laugh track over his canary act. Yet the message at the end is, like, stick to what you're good at. So I guess that message was kind of stupid. from what I remember, I think it's that, like, I don't know, Beaver was like, he wanted to play a more important role, but then he let Whitey play it instead, and then he played something else. I can't remember. I watched this like a year ago. Fuck it. The Visiting Aunts I give a C+. An Aunt Martha episode. Need I say more? No, I'm not going to. Happy Weekend. C. This is so mediocre, I didn't even write any notes about it. And you know, I'm supposed to write them about every episode, so that should tell you how mediocre it is. Wally's Present, I give a B. Larry is the worst in this episode. This is a good premise and executed well. The anticipation of what Beaver bought for Wally is greatly paid off, and the episode has quite a few good jokes. The funniest part is when Beaver is walking around the block for no reason. It's such a Beaver thing to do. Yeah, there's this hilarious part where, like, he's just walking around the block over and over again, and, like, it's just so hilarious because you see him doing it, and it's so that he'll avoid, like, getting in trouble or getting questioned. It's just so funny. It's the number one thing you'd expect Beaver to do. The grass is always greener, C-. I don't like June in this episode and how she didn't want Beaver to hang around with the trash man's children. This is another simple and dull episode. It's just meh. The Boat Builders, B-. The whole episode is designed around stupidity. The kids build a crappy boat because they are kids and don't know any better. Their dad laughs at them and assumes they won't do any nonsense by taking the boat to the pond and using it. They do just that and then have to cover it up with their parents. So essentially, they don't do anything wrong in the first place. They're kids. They're not going to die in a pond. It's a typical thing kids do when they build something and it doesn't work out. These parents are trash. Their dad could have gone with them, watched them fail, and made sure someone didn't get hurt. Instead, he was like, they won't be like kids and do what kids do. What a dipshit. That being said, the middle of the episode's funny. Beaver plays hooky, F-. Now, you guys know how I feel about this episode. Words can't describe how much I hate this episode. And should I even go through it? Yeah, I will. I fucking hate this episode. Beaver and Larry are late to school. They are discouraged from going there altogether because they know how the teacher will yell at them and might send them to the principal. They obviously should still go to school, but they're kids, and they think of a kid's way out of it. They skip school. I did this too sometimes. It did not end the world. So what happened was, there were some times where I would actually stay home because I was just too late for school. In particular, middle school, because middle school was terrible. Like, there was this one time where, like, I went out of my way to make it late to school. And, I was having trouble shaving because my razor was dull, because it was overused and I needed to get a new one. And I go into class, and the teacher yells at me in front of the whole class, and then questions me about why I'm shaving in the first place. And it's like, bitch, that's none of your fucking business. And also, I'm sorry, but, like, yeah, I needed to shave at that time. I hit puberty early. That's just how it works with some kids. And so, again, it's like, what is it with these people? Like, thinking that, like, they can determine, in particular, I guess, women, determining, like, when men can reach puberty. It's not like with girls where, they get to a certain age and, they have their thing. With guys, it is very, like, inconsistent. And, like, I started shaving and all that at, like, 5th grade. And by 5th grade, There were a lot of other things, too, that started. And so it wasn't the end of the world that I skipped school, ever. Like, there was only, like, a couple of times, like, in high school where I wished I hadn't skipped school. Like, one of them was, like, for something that was just because it was funny. Like, there was this guy, and he smelled terrible, and we called him the Cracker because he always wore pants that showed his crack, and he didn't even bother to fix it, but he always smelled terrible. And so there was this one day where I missed school, and I really wished I didn't, because our English teacher showed up in a wheelchair for no reason. She didn't even explain what happened to her, and I made a joke and said, like, she probably tripped on the way to running into McDonald's to get the Big Mac special, like a special deal. But on that day, my friend asked the Cracker why he smelled so bad, and the Cracker, he said it was because of his shoes. He said because his shoes are old. And it's like, no, that is just the biggest bunch of bullshit. And it was just so hilarious, though. Like, so I really wished I was there to see that. So then their lunch boxes get smashed and they have no lunch. They walk around and don't know what to do. And meanwhile, Wally is sick for real and has to stay home. Obviously, they are creating a fucking retard parallel here, where Wally is the one who's really sick, which is why he should stay home instead of kids like Beaver and Larry. It's a stupid comparison, because Beaver and Larry were not intending on skipping school. It was not a scheme. It was a desperate improvisation. Then Beaver and Larry go to a supermarket and into a promotional shoot for candy bars. They are shown on live television being berated and mocked at by the cowboy spokesperson. Wally and his mom see it, and the adults are just sitting there, laughing and glaring at the helpless kids. Then they are picked up by their dad and forced to go back home to talk to the teacher. Larry goes home and gets physically abused by his mother and father, which is played off for laughs. Beaver is lectured by his teacher how he's a horrible person who did a horrible thing. She's not sad for herself. She's sad for Beaver missing out on his education. So, as if he's going to get held back because he missed one day of school. She acts like he committed a war crime. This is just the stupidest episode in history. It's blatantly obvious propaganda here that they were forced to have an episode where they show skipping school is bad. It's a falsely advertised episode, too. Beaver never played hooky. He skipped when he saw he was late and didn't want to face the shit that he would get for being late. The Garage Painters I give a B-. This is a mixed bag episode. It's all to service the funny sequences in the middle, but everything else is cringe and unfunny. Ward gives the boys Tom Sawyer to read when they're bored on a rainy day. It's kind of a lazy story, where you know they'll copy parts of the book and enjoy it more than they thought they would. What makes the episode trash is June, as usual. She goes into full Karen mode and says the book is problematic because they'll copy other things from it. We all know that this would be the type of bitch who would say that GTA causes school shootings, shit like that. They copy a very light-hearted scheme where they pretend like they painted the garage as fun, where they pretend like painting the garage is fun, and then other kids paint it for them. The thing is, they already learned their lesson not to copy the book when the scheme massively backfires. They did not need to be punished and given a talk after that. They saw one part of the book and applied it to real life, and it didn't work out. And then at the end, suddenly Ward talks them out of copying the book in 3 minutes. LOL with that. If they were so intent on copying the book, there's no way one little talk would make them stop. This show is delusional and makes the adults look dumber than the kids. Wally's pug nose, curious and how hypocritical it is. It's a decent concept and a message where Wally wears a nose-shaped device because a girl at school says he has a pug nose. But it's ultimately ruined by the queer 1950s propaganda attitude. People walking in on Wally acting like he's weird or something, or doing something wrong because he's looking at his nose in the mirror, and then him wearing the nose-shaped changer is looked at as weird too. He has to hide it and pretend like he's not using it. Then his parents find out and are horrified. Word suggests he has to give Wally a talk and force him not to wear it. Beaver reminds him of his similar experience. Why am I summarizing this episode? Okay, this is why. See, I always have a point, and I should just trust in myself more. He reminds his father about the time where he wanted to sleep with the light on. This is retarded because almost half the country sleeps with their lights on. But no, of course, in the Cleaver home, Beaver isn't allowed to do that. So then Wally doesn't take Ward's talk seriously, and instead gets sensitive about his ears too. This is when the girl at school tells him she thinks his nose is cute. Once again, the kids learn their lessons by themselves. Wally throws the nose thing away, and June acts like it was some big ordeal for him to have worn that thing. What's funny about this episode is how on one hand, they talk about being proud of your differences, and then on the other hand, you have to be ashamed of being different by using a nose shape changer or something like that. That's a double standard. Beaver's Pigeons is a C+. This is a meh episode. Beaver is sick, but he just got pet pigeons. People take care of them. Who cares? It's a filler episode. Speaking of fillings, the tooth. I give this a B. This episode's not as bad as you'd expect. It's a playful and light look into kids going to the dentist. But, and it's funny how Mr. Brewster from Beverly Hillbillies is Beaver's dentist. The episode is very generic, but it was very funny when Lumpy made the drilling noises to taunt Beaver. But still, it's another kind of propaganda episode, basically. Beaver gets adopted, C-. This is a stupid episode. After Field Day, Wally wins an award, but Beaver doesn't. Beaver gets jealous. Accidentally breaks the trophy with Larry. Then his family gets mad, and he goes to an adoption agency to get a new family. But there is a great line where Beaver says, "I think Larry's shoes aren't used to winning." And I think it's funny Beaver takes things a lot farther than his parents think that he would. The Haunted House I give a B-. This is an okay episode. Beaver thinks an old woman at this old house is a witch at a haunted house. She wants him to walk her dog. But it's kind of stupid because you get the typical establishment propaganda of parents telling their kids there's no such thing as ghosts or witches. That's a lie. However, it's a pretty funny episode. The bus ride I give a A-. Okay, this episode is already retarded. Saying farmers don't drink milk straight from their own cows. What a delusional idiot Hollywood writer. It's not healthy, LOL with that. It's actually healthier than pasteurized milk. Excuse me. Wally has to wear a suit to ride on a public bus. LOL with that. What's interesting about this one is how the adults are the ones completely at fault. A guy running a comic book stand tells Beaver the wrong bus gate to go to. Then the guy on Beaver's bus doesn't help Beaver at all. Then the cab driver makes him give him a tip. Beaver does something savage and says, "Gee, mister, don't the taxi people pay you?" Then I don't understand why you want to take free money from a kid. I mean, what a badass. That line is just like, fuck yeah, Beaver Cleaver is so right. He is so savage. He spits truth. He's amazeballs. I like the episode despite its flaws. It's not as bad as the train ride one, but it's basically the same episode but better. Beaver and Gilbert, I give a B+. I'll call you if I ever see his dad in his underwear. Very strange line. This episode introduces Beaver's second most popular friend in Gilbert. It's a decent episode about a new kid who starts trouble with the kids at school. It almost seems like Gilbert could have been a younger Eddie, but more evil. It's for the best, though, that he turned good. It wouldn't have been pleasant for Beaver to have to deal with such a cruel bully like Gilbert is in this episode until the end of the series. Price of Fame, I give a C+. This episode has a few Fs, but I said Fs, but it's kind of lame. Beaver gets in trouble sneaking into the principal's office after school and getting locked in. His dad says he's conspicuous. Beaver gets his head stuck in an iron fence and doesn't want to even... Oh, I remember this episode. This is stupid. Because his dad is obviously not teaching him the right thing. But I guess he learns his lesson at the end. Okay, whatever. That episode should really get a D. That just sucks. A Horse Named Nick, C-. Another The Cleavers Have an Animal episode. Let's just move on from there. Because it's pointless, like you guys know. Aunt Martha episodes, pet episodes, they suck. They're trash. Nobody wants them. Nobody likes them. They just suck. Beaver's Hero, I give a B+. This is a nice and funny episode. A reversal of the one where Beaver fibs about his mom. I liked how he never gets to lie more about his dad being a war hero. There are plenty of laughs like Beaver putting a half-eaten cookie back into the cookie jar, and the boys looking at pictures of June when she was a young whammon. But I'll never get tired of Wally writing hilarious notes for Beaver. Yeah, whenever Wally has to write a note for Beaver, that's always like a highlight moment of any episode. God, I can't believe how short this review has been. Like, this is shorter than the Wishbone episode review so far. You guys see what happens when Safi isn't involved? I'm just kidding. She'd be like, "Nyeh." Anyways, Beaver says goodbye, C+. This is an okay episode. Beaver thinks he's going to move. His class gives him presents. He has to give them back. I like the interaction between Larry and Beaver's dad. Other than that, this is a forgettable story because Beaver ends up moving anyway, so it's like, who fucking cares? Beaver's newspaper, I give a B. Larry calling Wally a dog in the manger is hilarious. What the fuck is that? So, I guess that was like a saying back then. That was like some kind of an insult if you called someone a dog in the manger. And I looked it up and I just thought, like, that's so weird and funny. And it's like, yeah. This is a sad episode, though. Beaver starts a newspaper and needs Wally's help to type it. Wally gets busy and doesn't want to do it anymore. Beaver has to then end his newspaper. I think I could have done... I think more could have been done with the comedy of what was in the newspaper. Beaver Sweater, I give a B. This is kind of a two-faced episode. They really want to make it another pro-conformity episode, but can't. So they make it about Beaver accidentally buying a girl's sweater. The mask comes off at the end when they're just laughing at Judy for wearing the sweater, period. At first, this episode could have been great. Beaver's parents will get him the sweater to make him happy no matter what. Kids make fun of him, and then their parents tell him to own it. But instead, they do a bait and switch where it's a girl sweater. Ooh! So you guys see what I'm saying? How, like, they act like it's perfectly okay for a kid to want to wear that, but then it's like, oh, well, it was actually a girl sweater, so that's understandable why he should not want her. And then at the end, they're laughing at a girl for wearing it, but it's like, wait a second. You should have not, like, why are you laughing at her for wearing a girl sweater? Like, just stupid. Friendship, I give a C+. Really weird how Miss Landers keeps Beaver hostage after school until he tells her where his homework is. That is bizarre. That would never happen, ever. Let me tell you something, guys. Teachers don't give a fuck if you didn't do your homework. They just flunk you and move on. Like, that happened a lot. Like the worst teacher I ever had, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to give him any sort of, like, acknowledgement as a person. But, like, there was a guy in our class, you know, he was a jackass jock loser, and he never did any of his homework, and he would just sort of sit there and laugh about it, and, like, you know, it would just be like, you moved on. You moved on, he got flunked. Like, there wasn't any big to-do. He wasn't held hostage after school. Just moved on, like, okay, you suck. But the teacher sucked worse, so he sucked the worst ever out of anyone, ever. So, overall, this is a kind of weak episode, and there are far better ones where Larry and Beaver have a falling out. Like, I can't even remember it. I kind of remember it. It's just lame. Dance Contest, I give an A-. This is a classic episode. I don't like how many episodes in Season 2 include Ward saying, "I'm not going to make you do something," which is a lie. It's a blatant lie. It's really dishonest and manipulative. I mean, do parents in real life do this kind of shit? Like, why would you do that? Like, it's really dishonest. It is bizarre how Eddie isn't in this episode. Even though Mary Ellen Rogers is creepy as fuck, she would make for any teen guy's dream crush. Overall, this is a classic episode, very funny and lighthearted. Wally learning the cha-cha and then Beaver and Larry doing it is classic. The only flaw, I would say, is not getting to see Wally and Mary Ellen do the dance together, which is like, that should be the whole payoff of the episode, right? Wally's hair comb, I give an A-. This episode is kind of ironic, since the whole thing about not following trends is this episode's message, like, don't follow the stupid trends. You know, but everyone should conform and wear those boring suits, right? Right? This is ironic since in the suit episode, the parents forced Wally to conform to the trends and follow trends of wearing boring suits that are just boring, lame, black suits with, you know, the just typical, like, ugh. It is definitely a classic episode, though. June visiting the principal's office to complain about the hairstyle is retarded too, but the Beaver twist is hilarious, and but I fucking hate June in this episode. What a bitch. And if you guys don't know, like, at the end, she, like, chases Beaver up to the room and forces him to put his hair, quote-unquote, normally. And then she also, like, forces Wally to change his hair, and it's like, I hate June Cleaver. Like, I used to kind of like June, You know, she's not really my type, but I used to like her. I do not like her anymore at all. I hate this character. Like, I think the thing that, like, the number one moment for me is in season 1, where she found out that this kid that she didn't like is allergic to mayonnaise or something, and then she decided to put extra mayonnaise on a sandwich just for that person. And I was like, you know, that's an evil thing right there. Like, that's not some typical, like, thing you do. Like, that's an evil thing. Giving somebody who's allergic to something that food on purpose, that's evil. The Cookie Fund, I give a C+. I like the fact that the boys don't get in trouble for doing what they did. The boy who tricked them rightfully got punishment. I also liked how Beaver's dad chose to trust him and said he didn't want to make the mistake of not trusting his own son. I don't know why he never thinks about that in any other episode, though, because he always distrusts Beaver. He always takes... in fact, there's a line coming up in the next episode where he says, "In this case, I am for the old-fashioned way of blaming the boy." That line is like, ugh! That line is just straight out of Pleasantville. So, Forgotten Party, I give this episode an A+. I thought it was the best of the season. This episode is just fucking incredible. David, the birthday boy, is hilarious. He calls Beaver and asks him to come, and then he says, "Do you know who I am?" You know, because he moved away, and so he didn't know if Beaver would remember. It's pretty hilarious how badly David has to have Beaver come to his party. And so I love this episode. And then Beaver gave David his brand new camera. And I really like that Beaver did that. You know, once again, Beaver, he's a class act. He's a class act boy. Now, the finale is a piece of shit. Found money. This episode is all about how Larry steals money from his mom so that him and Beaver can go to the carnival together. Ugh. It's bad in the first place because Larry's mom sucks. His parents are terrible, awful, abusive parents. And it's just kind of cringeworthy when you watch these episodes because you know there's a lot of Larrys out there. And you know the reason why they're Larrys is because of their parents not being good parents. And I don't like how Beaver is automatically blamed for, you know, stealing the money when he didn't do anything wrong. So this episode, very predictable, very negative episode. I give it an F+. Overall, oh my god, I'm done with season 2. Oh, hallelujah. I gotta be honest, guys. I literally had the idea that I was never gonna be done watching season 2 of Leave It to Beaver. Like, I only have 4 episodes left. The last 4 episodes that I just reviewed to you guys, all I had left was to watch those, but I thought I would never get it done. Think everything. So my food rating for season 2, I give it lemon jello because you ran out of the other better flavors, but you only eat it when you're sick. Most flavors are gross, and it's not a very satisfying or filling dessert. It's not meant to be a filling dessert though, because it just works as a substitute until you're well enough to have good desserts again. So that's what this season is. It's a fucking dessert that's a substitute dessert until you have the good desserts again. AKA the episodes where Eddie is in them. So anyways, please like this video, comment, and tell me how much you love this video, the 1 or 2 people watching it. this video in particular, because I know there's not a lot of people who watch Leave It to Beaver or even care about it anymore. I understand, though, because it's a great show. Please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more Leave It to Beaver videos in January and on, I will say. And then, yeah, I'm done with Season 2 of Leave It to Beaver. I'm done. I'm free. I'm free! Remember that, guys? You know what movie I just referenced? And I feel kind of ashamed, embarrassed, and just like kind of upset with myself. I just referenced Shark Boy and Lava Girl. You guys remember when Tobor, was that the name of the robot? There's this one part where he flies away from the kids and he's like, I'm free! God, that movie was terrible. Why did I just reference that? That movie sucked. But you know what? That movie would be perfect for a commentary. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon for the next review on Wednesday. Or wait, no, Tuesday. I'm doing this video a day ahead of time because I want to get it over with. So goodbye, everybody.